So when it was 1 month, 4 years.
It seemed long, and now apparently that's like undershooting it. I have no idea how long they've been together. But I don't know time like that.
Well, if
I don't know how long we've known each other. I don't know how long I've been in a relationship. I don't know any of that shit. I'm not even joking.
You're just reminded of, like, I'm sure you can remember the anniversary date. You're just reminded how many.
I have no idea.
All right. All right.
I don't know that date. I don't know. I'm good with Christmas. I know when Christmas is. I know when like Halloween is.
Because those are on calendars. You can just look at calendars.
Yeah, but they're also the same day every year.
Your anniversary should be the same day every year.
It's an excellent point, and I hadn't considered that.
Birthdays are the same day every year.
Yeah, but again, I remember my birthday.
I'm awful with birthdays. I actually showed my hand to my other group of friends very recently of like, I have a note on my notes app that's like chronological order starting from January through to December of everybody's birthday because I just can't remember.
That's impressive because that still takes effort. Not remembering and putting in I just don't put in the effort. Like, I don't fucking know.
Is that unrelated?
It's about anniversaries.
Oh. No, I can remember my anniversary.
Can you?
Yeah, March 15th.
You're making me look bad.
You could cut this too.
I probably will. I might leave it. That's the thing. I don't cut things that make me look bad because then I would have to cut things to make you look bad. And I'm an equal opportunist.
Okay.
Like, I'll cut if asked, but otherwise I'm just going to be like, so I'll probably cut us talking about cutting, but I'll leave in, I don't know, my fucking anniversary.
You can cut out the things that make us look good, like me remembering. Just leave in the part where you don't.
Maybe I'll do that. I'll splice together you going, I agree.
I would love to change the subject.
Kevin Costner's next 3 movies are decided. It's the one we just watched 3 more times.
God, I hope not. Actually, he has already talked about, or he's signed on to his next thing after Horizon. He's co-producing, writing.
It's called Bankruptcy Court.
No, he's co-producing, writing, and starring, but not directing in. Couldn't fucking tell you, but I saw the headline and read half the article because all articles do the thing where it reminds you. Horizons is now in theaters.
Yeah.
It'll be a home video. You might know Kevin Costner from Wilder World.
Another fucking. We'll get there.
Fuck! We gotta talk about him in order.
Well, we can surmise that he's probably learned nothing if he's just writing and producing another one starring himself.
It sucks because I genuinely think he's a great director. I liked I thought this. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
This is as good a segue as you're gonna get.
Fuck!
You want to do the intro?
Can you not remember?
Welcome to KAFM.
It's Kill All Film Majors.
I'm John.
I'm Duncan.
And today we're doing our segment Double Feature, which is where we find 2 movies.
This is Box Office Bomb Squad, my guy. These are not doing well.
Well, one of them's not in theaters for the last couple of months. One of them was in theaters months ago.
But it still bombed.
Sure, but I thought we had to see them in movies for that. In the theaters for that.
Okay, fine. Editing it live.
I thought this was double feature because it's the 2 magnum opus productions of like auteur filmmakers that bombed this year.
Yeah, this could be a Venn diagram because both these movies are still fairly recent, came out this year. And I mean, like, by the time it comes out, neither of these movies will have been in theaters.
Yeah, this is kind of... These are the 2 2024, like... big, like one guy's vision was this movie, and they both
swan dive onto pavement.
Yeah, didn't do good in theaters at all.
And one dude seems okay with it.
Yeah, well, one was expected, like, and the other was. I mean, I kind of expected it, but
I think we all expected it. The director just kind of wishes the year was 1850 again. Legitimately, I think he wishes he lived in any other time but now.
The first of these 2 movies is Megalopolis,
which is so fun to say.
Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, a director who we're about to trash his movie, and I don't even know that we have the right to, because of how influential and important he is.
You can't throw a stone without hitting a film major in the back of the skull that loves The Godfather.
Well, a film major. I mean, like, the dude made Apocalypse Now and The Godfather. Like, he kind of just made whatever he wanted.
And it was always awesome.
That being said, I'm a red-blooded American who paid cold hard American cash to see these movies, and so I'm allowed to give my fucking opinion.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to trash Coppola movies in the sense that he made famous, perfect movies, or, you know, like some of the most seminal works of American filmmaking. I paid money to see this movie, so I'm allowed to have my opinion on it.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's telling you you're not allowed to.
Yeah, who am I arguing with?
I don't know.
Sometimes I just have a vision that I'm standing in front of a horde and I need to defeat it.
Looking at the reviews across, IMDb, Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes, you're getting up on a soapbox and nobody's stopping you. It's like, I'm here to, don't worry, I'll hold the line and I'll trash Megalopolis. Everybody else is wrong and everybody else is on your side of the fence.
That's true. Megalopolis is one of those movies where Letterboxd has that curve of ratings.
Yeah.
And it generally spikes around the accepted. Like if it's a great movie, it spikes around 4, sometimes even 5. It's one of those ones where there's no spike.
No, it is truly flat and consistent across. Like, there are some people that do love it.
Everyone thinks everything about this movie.
And I think Francis Ford Coppola was thinking everything when he made it, so nothing got through. There was a hairball in the drain.
So, real quick, before we get into the specifics of this movie, of which there are many, but also somehow very little, like you just said, I want to say that I appreciate Megalopolis.
I had fun.
It is an $100 million movie, whether it looks like it or not, of just one guy's decisions. There was no boardroom. There was no oversight. It is a pure filmmaking masterclass of one guy has every idea he wants, makes it in.
This is the greatest downfall of the auteur, being so lauded, well respected, and everybody agrees Coppola made great films. He's fast-tracked himself to, like you said, no oversight. During the production, he bankrolled it. It was his project. He said, like, this is just a movie I want to make. Regardless of if it makes its money back, I'm making it. And this is what happens. Let this be a cautionary tale.
Cautionary? I want more movies like this. I want to go to the theater and see $100 million of someone else's dream. Repeatedly. Whether or not I like the end product, I liked the concept of this existing.
I think there was genuine passion and love, and so many people were like locked in front of the camera and behind it. I agree. I want to see more of this, but I guess this is more so a cautionary tale for production companies and distribution companies. Maybe it took him how long to find distribution for this film?
Everyone turned him down. I don't remember the exact dates, but I remember he was playing at festivals for a while and he couldn't find distribution for it until whatever said it was good to go.
Lionsgate.
Yeah.
Which they're having a stellar year.
Nothing but bangers over there at Lionsgate.
Who distributed the other one we watched?
It's an excellent question. I don't remember.
Okay. I was really hoping it was also
probably Warner Brothers because it ended up on Max.
Oh, maybe. But I mean, like, sometimes there's, Paramount or there's other companies that, they do cross, we'll put it on HBO. We'll put it on Max and Netflix or something. Yeah. Anyway, Megalopolis.
You mentioned the auteur, which is a debated theory because too many people are involved in filmmaking for naysayers to the auteur theory. The auteur theory, real quick, is when a movie is one individual's vision, right? Mm-hmm. Like one guy is the reason this exists. And there are people who say that theory doesn't even hold water because too many people make too many decisions in a movie for it to ever be one guy. Like one guy painted a painting, but if I set up the camera, still someone else acts in front of it. So at the basis, there's two people, right? Or whatever it is. And that's kind of where I fall on how I feel because it always feels like you can tell there's too many touches.
Like, I think a great example of this is Wes Anderson. People attribute Wes Anderson movie, they call him an auteur because you can see a Wes Anderson movie and understand I'm looking at a Wes Anderson movie. Well, that's his DP, Robert Yeoman.
Yeah, I think that's taking away a little too much credit from him because Wes Anderson movie in my mind serves as the filter. Right, you have prop masters, you have camera work, you have design work all throughout every level, and Wes Anderson is the ultimate voice that runs through. So although other people make the decisions, he places it, and he's the final like collage artist for that.
So could that be the sort of middle ground for the argument of the auteur theory? Like George Lucas for the Star Wars movies, people presented him with thousands of ideas. And he filtered down to the ones that fit his vision.
Yeah, and that's why I don't really believe in the auteur theory, but I also don't believe in like saying like, oh, like it's just the DP or oh, it's just the lead or something like that.
My point more so was that there are other people that make that vision happen.
Yeah.
A film can't be one person.
Yeah. The closest we get is Megalopolis, things like Megalopolis, written, directed, produced over, I don't know, like I think he wrote the script originally, started working on it in the 70s. He's been putting it on the back burner and stuff.
This is the most auteur movie since, what, like La Mariachi?
Since Horizon.
Since earlier this year.
Yeah, it's an...
So have you talked about this movie with anybody since seeing it?
Other than saying go see it, no.
Okay.
I told a couple people to go see it, but I don't have a way to talk about it unless you've seen it because it is strange. We're going to try, but...
The way that I've been talking about this movie to people to help them understand, because I didn't even know going in. The trailers don't really tell you anything, and there's too many moving parts, really, I think, to distill it well. The way that I've been describing this movie is, it's a story of, if we don't... It's a story of repeating history, that old adage of...
Yeah, very clearly.
If you don't listen to history, you repeat it. It's a modern retelling of the fall of Rome, but it's really on the nose. Takes place, and I guess this is a good segue to lead into the story, because this is how I've been trying to pitch people on it, or how to tell them about it. It takes place in a city called New Rome.
That is just New York.
And it follows people named Cicero and Caesar, and they all Claudio. They all have the classic Roman names about that time, and about the fall of Rome. And it is very clearly a modern telling of these historical figures. And also there's time magic.
Yeah, I don't even know.
That's how I've been trying to pitch people on it, but there's so many moving parts that doesn't even do the movie justice.
Yeah, because I don't even know if it exists as like a modern telling of historical figures, because although they have their names, they're their own thing. Like, this Caesar has no relevance to any Caesar people know. His fate is not the famous fate of Caesar.
Not even the monkey?
No, the monkey is closer to Julius Caesar than he is to this Caesar is. And I know there's other Caesars or whatever, but there's one Caesar everyone thinks about when you hear Caesar.
Caesar Romero.
Caesar Romero. Somebody.
He was the Joker from the Adam West Batman show.
Maybe it's just easier to go through it and see what I can remember.
It opens with time magic.
Megalopolis does open with Adam Driver, Caesar, balancing on one foot on what's top of, kind of looks like the Empire State Building.
Very Art Deco. There's a lot of beautiful CGI buildings in this movie.
And then he balances and he almost falls off and he goes, "Time, stop!"
He yells it.
And time stops. And you're like, uh-oh.
And then he steps backwards. He reverses himself without saying anything.
And then he lets time restart. And I think he says...
Time start.
Time start.
Time stop, time start. That's how his powers work.
But not really.
No.
And don't worry. This scene and kind of his powers don't matter ever.
Not at all. I remember saying in the theater, oh, I bet that's going to come back. Like, this is a flash forward towards, like, the hero's lowest point. He's thinking about killing himself and then immediately, takes it back, regrets it. No, this movie is told in chronological order. There's no bouncing around.
Yeah. So, sort of. There's some flashbacks later on.
Oh, yeah, but who gives a shit?
We'll get to that, too. The overarching feeling. And then after that, it does, like, the title crawl or whatever.
And then we get...
Worth noting, we were in an empty theater. It was basically a private screening for you and me.
Yup, and we were sitting in the way back having a blast.
I don't know if it would have been better or worse with the crowd, because being able to laugh loudly at multiple points in this movie really aided my enjoyment.
That's what I genuinely think, that it takes a certain amount of people. Like, if you're seeing something with friends, you can laugh at it. I'm sure if we had seen Boy Kills World together, I wouldn't have been wanting to just punch every empty seat in the theater. I had a miserable time alone, but if I had seen it with somebody, I think that could have been something.
I saw Boy Kills World with somebody, and
it was still
fucking shit.
Okay, maybe not.
I didn't hate it though.
I don't
think I hate things with Bill Skarsgård in them, except for the It movies.
And I think I do. Well, because this is interesting, because I liked It with him in it, and I didn't like the other things with him in it.
I didn't care for it. I didn't hate it, but I was like, this is lame. We'll have to break Nosferatu. We'll see where we fall.
Yep.
You know who doesn't fall? Caesar Catalina, which is Adam Driver.
You remember his last name?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that speaks volumes to this film if you can remember a full name.
What I don't remember is what happens next.
They describe his special magic fabric? No, he just has a special material that he's made.
We go to like the nightclub scene. We introduce everyone's characters real quick. There is John Voight is Caesar's uncle. His name's Crassus, I think.
Yes.
And he's the richest man in the world by gabillions of dollars. He's introduced by Platinum, who is Aubrey Plaza, who's a news host who says, "You have so much money, I would love to have sex with you." There is Giancarlo Esposito, who is the mayor of New Rome.
We're introduced to him in a weird cut to a scene devoid of everything else.
I don't even remember.
So his daughter, unfortunately I can't remember her name.
I'll get to her. I was just going to go through every character I know.
Oh, well, she is living it up at a nightclub. And she's like riding a horse topless, and she's having a great time.
I don't remember that.
No? Well,
I do remember the nightclub, actually. Because that was the first time, can I just interject real quick? Yeah. Where I realized this movie might be not actually, like, I don't know where the $100 million went. $120 million. Because the nightclub is weirdly low energy. And although there is flashing lights of people like grabbing butts and touching each other, everyone's moving kind of slowly in the background and sort of doing that really fake, like, slow meandering dance, like, nightclub thing. Yeah. And it looks like when they do a nightclub on, like, the CW. Yeah. And so anyway, this is where we meet Woman.
And Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, the beef himself.
The beef himself is Claudio, and his sisters that he has sex with.
It's awesome. He's introduced with all these women, and he's just like, you're like, oh, okay, he's a player, whatever. And then, I'm not even joking, the chief of police shows up, and then someone shows up and is like, Shia LaBeouf, you gotta stop banging your sisters. And he's like, why? And the guy doesn't have a great reason for him to stop.
So, on the outside of the nightclub, the mayor's daughter, Giancarlo Esposito's daughter, is whisked away, but as she's living up the high life, we just cut to Giancarlo Esposito in his office looking at a newspaper that says, "Look at the mayor's daughter topless." And he's like, "Oh, I can't believe her."
That's true. I remember that.
And we looked at each other immediately like, where the fuck are we?
Yeah.
We don't know this guy. Like, we know it's...
Because then he cuts back to him. That's when it cuts back to the beef himself. In a limo with John Voight, who's like, you gotta stop banging your sisters.
This is when they get to the unveiling of, they're on like cool little like wooden catwalks above a scale model of the city, and this is really where it's like, I'm Giancarlo Esposito, the mayor.
This is Dustin Hoffman,
not Caesar, but Cicero.
He's Cicero.
Yeah,
got-
Frank Cicero, not Franklin. Francis. It's like, oh, okay, Francis Ford Coppola, you put yourself in the movie as the guy in charge. All right.
And then
Dustin Hoffman is there, but doesn't realize where he is, and John Voight, who's Cicero's enemy, Crassus, is entering with his son, Shia LaBeouf, who's the only guy locked in, and John Voight's like, hey, real quick, Shia LaBeouf, you got to stop fucking your sisters.
that's when it happens.
And
I just remember before we even know what Shia LaBeouf is doing, he's already had 2 outfits, and this one involves short pants and a cape, and he's doing backflips on a catwalk, and then someone's like, you gotta stop having so much sex, dude. And I'm like, first of all, you back off. That's the beef, sir. And then he's like, dude, they're all your sister. Everyone you bang is your sister. What is going on? And he's like, ho, and he just like cartwheels away. And I was like, all right, this movie might be fucking awesome. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, he does get like one of his outfits. He wears he's got like a kilt.
Yeah.
There's one point where he's in a dress and he tries to play it off. It's like, oh, it's a fraternity thing. I lost a bet. It's like, sure you did, buddy. You're not feeling yourself at all.
Did you lose the bet to put on the lipstick and eyeshadow too? Because you seem to love it.
Yeah, he's having an incredible time.
And so then they unveil a city, and Cicero is like, listen, we got to build a casino.
Why?
And Caesar, this is when Adam Driver shows up. And he does an entire speech from Hamlet.
He does a monologue. He does a soliloquy.
Just the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And the crowd loses it. They think he's hilarious.
I was locked the fuck in. I was like, what are you? Because we just got, hey, Shia LaBeouf, stop having sex with your sister. Shakespeare.
And at least at this point, I'm like, all right, I kind of get it, right? Rome, speeches, like Shakespeare speeches, where this is all kind of like a play. Mm-hmm. And then we're just out of that scene because Caesar defeats Cicero by saying, instead of this dumb casino, let's build the future. And everyone's like, he's a genius.
I want to build a utopia out of space iron.
Because he's invented this material that is kind of just can do anything.
Yeah, it's part of how he controls time. And later they create a see-through dress, but not a sexy see-through dress. It just shows you
what's behind. The person.
So it is kind of like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak.
Sure. Why not?
Predator.
Yeah.
There you go. That's invisibility you like.
Yeah.
It does that.
Yeah. I'm a simple guy. I like the Predator when he's an alien, not when he's a transphobic author. To each their own. I guess you prefer J.K. Rowling.
That's just like one of the first invisibility things I thought of.
Yeah. Interesting. Says a lot about you.
Sure. So after this scene, I don't remember what happens.
Oh, this is when Caesar leaves and he goes to his butler is Lawrence Fishburne wearing an oddly Chinese shirt. I don't know why.
He wears and he does kind of have a Chinese outfit.
And they just kind of hang out. They don't do anything. Lawrence Fishburne's the narrator as well. And they drive away.
Later, he's sitting alone in his car, and he looks like he's like writing something, but like he's doing the narration. And then we cut to him, and it's him saying all this narration out loud. It's like, okay, he's surrounded by a lot of important people, and so he's writing down history as it's happening. I liked that bit, but cutting to him in the car alone saying it out loud, I thought was a little goofy.
Oh yeah, and that's the only thing in this movie that's a little goofy. So then, I don't remember. Like they're like, all right, we're building Caesar's super future.
He goes to his apartment or an apartment where Aubrey Plaza's Wow Platinum is staying, and
she's like, please God, have sex with me. Have sex with me right now on the floor a ton. And Adam Driver's like, listen, bitch,
I'm too busy building the future.
And they're like, well, I remember you might have killed your wife. And he's like, you just talked yourself out of some driver penis. And he walks away. And Wow Platinum looks at the TV and sees John Voight, and she goes, that's my next target.
You're gonna deny me your incredible driver? I'm gonna marry your uncle and hold power over you, because the uncle's bankrolling his nephew, all of his kids. They're all little trust fund babies.
To give you an idea of how rich John Voight is, he literally, in his interview, there is a wealth counter under him for how much money he's making, and the billions slot is ticking up per second. He has all of the money in the world.
He owns like every bank or something.
Everything. He owns everything. And
to the point where the mayor of the largest city in the world, this New Rome, has no power over him. He shows up to the mayor's unveiling and says, "Yeah, but you're kind of lame and my nephew's building the future."
I believe fully in Adam Driver. So then there's a fashion show where Shia LaBeouf shows up.
And he's on stage with the models, like holding their hand, like, "Yeah, you look good."
He's like, "I'd bang these women if I was related to them, unfortunately." Then he goes down and he kisses his sisters, and they're all like, "Oh my goodness." And then he's like, "All right, later, sluts," and he walks away.
And the thing that I think is really funny is the mayor and Crassus hate each other, but the mayor's daughter is friends with Crassus's kids.
Yeah, they're whatever.
And so like the mayor's daughter is like, "Wow, you bang your brother?" I don't have a problem with the fact you bang your brother. I have a problem with the fact that he's kind of a gross guy.
Yeah, and they're like, "Whatever, he's kind of charming." And I'm like, again, another excellent point from Megalopolis. And then they're like, "I know what'll show Adam Driver who's boss. Let's draw a little goatee and mustache on his newspaper picture and mail it to him."
Like I'm fucking 12.
So they do that. And then the main woman goes, it's a shame we can't remember her name, but...
Do you want me to look it up real quick just so we have a name?
No, I like calling her the main woman. You want to look it up?
Yeah. Time. Stop. It's loading. Julia, played by Natalie Emmanuel.
Okay. So Julia goes to Adam Driver's house and is like...
Hey, wait. Time start. Now we can...
Julia goes to Adam Driver's house and is like... No, before she goes to Adam Driver, she sees Adam Driver working. And that's how she becomes enamored with him. Like, she doesn't like him, but she sees... He works for the beautification committee, which apparently has all the power in the world, and their job is to blow up buildings.
This building is old and decrepit. Explode it.
And she sees him working. Adam Driver they say, "Should we blow it up?" And he goes, "Wait." And then he goes, "Now." And then they blow it up. And then he freezes time for everybody but him and Julia. And then she sees him start time again. And she's going to mention that later, which is why I had to bring that up. And that's when she's like, oh, kind of interested in him. It's never explained why time doesn't stop for her, but that doesn't really matter because this time thing doesn't matter.
I think it is really, because you described it perfectly, but I think it is underselling. Holy shit, you can stop time, when her reaction is like, oh, it's kind of sexy that he can distort reality.
Yeah, because it's like a sort of metaphorical power. The whole thing is like he's moving the city at his whim, I think is the idea.
Yeah, like he alone controls the passage of, the advancement of civilization. And which is really heavy-handed and stupid.
But I mean, that's this movie, brother. So then, fuck, what happens? Oh.
Then she goes to his office.
And she's like, "I sent you a mad letter, give it back." And he's like, "Too late, I've already read it." And
his delivery in this scene is insane.
Everyone's seen the clip. Have you seen the viral clip? "So go back to the club." That's in this scene. But right before he says that, he starts talking like Invader Zim for some reason. Like... She's like, he goes, "Oh, you think your studying school gives you rights to plunder my mind?" And she's like, she's indignant, and she's like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Yes, yes." Like he's doing this like Invader Zim thing.
Yeah. God, well, what is she saying back? Is she saying indignant over and over again?
Not indignant. It's like, oh, right? He calls her childish or something. And she's
childish.
Like, yeah, something like that.
Yes. Childish. Yes. Childish. Yes.
Bizarre delivery. And I don't remember if it's childish, but it's something like that to imply that she's... And then she reveals she can stop time, and he's like, "You're working for me now. Come into my basement where I got children building sculptures out of plastic and toilet paper tubes."
Yeah, so whereas the mayor had a beautiful scale model version of the city, he has built one out of garbage.
And I think that's supposed to mean something, like, oh, he works with what he has.
but it's like, this is my city of the future. Imagine my flower. This is not a metaphor. She steps into the scale model city, closes her eyes, and imagines the flower.
And it looks bad.
The way that I thought about it, you mentioned CW, it looks like CW budget.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like Spy Kids.
Spy Kids or like Doctor Who.
Early 2000s music video.
Yeah. I got recommended an article that was Megalopolis turned into Linkin Park music video. And I was like, that's about right.
It does. And I don't know why it looks like this.
Where did the 120 million go?
Because
did he embezzle his own money?
I don't think so.
Allegedly.
With how committed he is to this and everything, like, were people just getting paid a lot? Because a constant theme in this, we're talking about like mayor, city, police captain, all this stuff will be crowds. And with the way it is filmed,
crowd of 30 people.
Not even, like, the crowd will be like 12 people. It is so clearly so small, and every room is tiny and every set is small.
No, the sets for this is a little bit later in the movie, but the circus, those were pretty large.
I don't think they were. I think it was mostly CG.
You think that the crowds of people were CG?
Yeah, because the only time they cut close, whenever they cut to the crowd, it's a really close up framing where you get like 4 rows of people.
I'd have to watch it again, but I remember that being
panning crowd shot.
I'd have to watch it again, but I remember that at least the set's feeling large in that.
Maybe. It does feel larger, and that's the only time though. And every, like, the mob at the end, that, like, when Shia LaBeouf gets his comeuppance, or even when he's like ranting to the news,
he's ranting to 20 people.
Yeah, and it's like
he's ranting to 20 neo-Nazis, but we'll get to that.
It's extras. And I don't know where the money went, because it didn't go to the CG, because Caesar's Dream Flower World looks like fucking shit. Something we're not mentioning is sometimes there's just like a circle aspect ratio, or like a peephole zoom in on like when Adam Driver stops time and she falls in love with him that first time. It's just that. And I think that's the point where I turned to you and I said, there's not one goddamn cut in this movie that makes sense.
Yeah. They do mess around with the aspect ratio, and there are some times where it worked for me, and I don't think it ever worked for you. I think every time there was something different going on with the aspect ratio, you turned to me mad and said something angry.
Not angry, more just, because I was never angry at this movie. I was just like, oh, what the fuck? Like, oh, we're doing triple split screen now of pastries because it's Christmas time. Okay.
That was hilarious, and that felt like a Hallmark commercial. Not even a full movie. It felt like, or like
stock footage, it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about when they start using stock footage.
Or like a Fred Meyer commercial to be like, it's the holidays at Fred Meyer. Yeah. Come buy our pastries.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Come buy a big, delicious roast chicken at Costco.
Shove a chicken down that gullet, you fat pig. I'm building the future. So then, she starts working for him, and we got to Giancarlo Cicero as he finds out his dad. He's like, "You're working for who?" But he's at the mayor's parade, which is just 4 firemen and like 2 guys playing tuba walking down the street, and then cars block him off from Adam Driver, and he goes, "Who would interrupt the mayor's parade?"
And it's just a limo with apparently Adam Driver in it driving past.
Fucking awesome.
And the cherry on top, because like the daughter, they've made it clear that the daughter doesn't care too much about her dad's position. Not that she doesn't respect him, but she's just going through a rebellious phase.
Yeah.
And she's like, who do you think got me here on time? Like, for the parade. And he just looks so fucking flabbergasted. Like, he made my daughter on time for an event that was important to me.
But it's just, why is he having a parade is never clear. He's just like, it's time for the mayor's parade.
There are 5 musicians that we later see just leaning against a building, and the oldest guy is reading the newspaper aloud to these other musicians, and the dude at the end of the line trottles off to go join Shia LaBeouf's gang. He ends up as like muscle for Shia LaBeouf.
What's awesome though is he walks up and Shia LaBeouf is chill as fuck. He's like, "Oh, yo, what's your name?" He's not elitist or anything. He's like, "Oh, my name's, I don't remember." And then he's like, "Cool, you want to bang my sisters?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "All right." And they like shake hands and hop in his limo. And then
they're best buds for the rest. They're ride or die. guy. Shia LaBeouf's riding around on his shoulders like, "Wee, I love you, Dylan," or whatever his name was.
And there's weird comedy there because he leaves, and then the old guy, the old tuba player, looks over the remaining musicians. He goes, "Which way did Dylan go?" And they point left, and he goes, "Then I say we go right." And then they leave.
Let's go this way.
And it's clearly a joke. Like, it's not us misunderstanding, and I don't understand it. I don't know why.
Because they didn't like Dylan.
But what's the fucking point of that scene, Coppola?
Because now we're introduced to I don't remember his name.
I'm calling him Dylan. That works for me. He's playing the role of a Dylan in this movie. He's a racist.
Yup.
Where he becomes Shia's. The further we go on with this movie, we're going to tell it more and more out of order, and the movie's kind of nonsense anyway. He becomes Shia's little goon, and every time you see him, he's got a new white supremacist piece on him.
Whether it's an armband or a tattoo on his forehead.
He gets a Nazi armband, or like it looks vaguely Nazi. It's like red. Yeah. He has then the Azov unit Black Sun type thing tattooed on his forehead.
I still don't know what that is, but I'll take your word for it.
The Black
That's a white
Sun is a neo-Nazi logo.
Okay.
The Azov unit is a team in Ukraine that wears that logo while they kill Russians.
Oh no. The scales are working overtime with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so every time we see him, he is used to try and paint Shia LaBeouf's character in a better light, because there's a point where his character Dylan is just like, "You want me to start beating the shit out of this crowd of poor people?" And Shia's like, "They're not animals, they're just poor. Let me talk to them."
Yeah. At one point, he stands up on a tree stump to get the crowd's attention, and it's shaped in a swastika.
It is just carved into the shape of a swastika.
But, like, it grew that way. Like, he stands on a Nazi tree.
It's not carved that way. Like, it's the base of the tree, and then there's a point where you could see it was carved.
Oh, I thought it just grew in the shape of a swastika. I thought you had the outside stump. Whatever it is, it makes no fucking sense, and it has nothing to do with anything.
I think it was used to so Shia LaBeouf's character's name was Claudio, and I think it's used to show that Claudio doesn't care who he cavorts with so long as he has that circle around him. Like, he's not smart enough to see, because he gets tricked later by Aubrey Plaza's character. We'll get to that, but like he's not smart enough to know who he's hanging out with. Yeah. He just knows people are listening to him, and that's all that matters.
Yes.
He's hanging out with the worst people, and he just can't see it.
And he's the most fun in the movie.
Unfortunately, yeah, he looks like he's having the most fun on set.
He gets it. Giancarlo Esposito gets it. Adam Driver gets it.
Go back to the club.
I don't know what they got, but they got it. And it makes the movie fun.
They got some of Francis Ford Coppola's peyote and saw the vision.
Yeah, flowers.
Future flowers.
Adam Driver's Utopia, by the way. I don't really remember. Wow Platinum marries John Voight. I think I mentioned that. And then she's like, all right, I got to take over all of his riches.
So this movie is told in acts like a Shakespearean play, and we get these large stone
like tablets, walls, carvings. It kind of looks like on the side of a Colosseum, a carved.
Yeah, and it tells us, this is Act 1, Act 2. So Act 2 is called Bread and Circuses.
Right. Adam Driver goes to John Voight's wedding.
Which is a big circus, and everybody's having fun.
And he gets high as shit.
He gets crossfaded as fuck and just wanders through, like, the back catacombs of the circus. He keeps wandering into, like... Again, like, it looks like a dressing room or some kind of, like, this is a storeroom for the circus. Wanders down a set of stairs, is in a new, different storeroom, green room for a circus. And he's having the time of his life as everybody's talking shit on him or trying to ruin his image. And he does not give a shit because he's having the time of his life.
He's zooted, and it's visually awesome, like arms sprouting from him, blue and red, this whole like thing, as he's just murmuring about time cannot control you, you need to control time.
He throws a bottle against a wall and says, time reverse, and the bottle comes back to him. He takes another sip.
And he throws it a different direction and it floats. It doesn't break. And then meanwhile, there is a singer, a 17-year-old singer who is the virgin singer for the New Rome. She's the reason children are like abstinent and like
Adam Driver makes a dress for her out of his special space material and makes that cool see-through dress.
she's like the symbol of purity for these people.
Yeah, she's the pure virgin pop star.
And she sings a full song number while Adam Driver gets high as shit, and she's doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Shia LaBeouf and his goon have plotted, and they show a deep-faked sex tape of her banging Adam Driver.
And it's clearly deep faked.
But it's enough to ruin her image and ruin the wedding party, and it throws Adam Driver in jail for one night.
One night for what'd they get him? Statutory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then...
Because she's supposedly 17, and then this is immediately resolved when Julia goes to public records, pulls her birth certificate, and says, oh, she's actually like 26.
And born in like Puerto Rico or some shit. like it's a weird note. It's not just her age is wrong. They're like, she's actually not from here.
Yeah, she's also foreign.
And so then he's let go. He's let out of jail in a scene we don't see. Just the next time we see him, he's out of jail, and he's lost his ability to stop time.
He's up on scaffolding of his cool special building where we see him nearly jump from before.
And it doesn't look real at all.
It looks so bad. And
Do you think it looks bad? This part, it just looked fake to me, but intentional, like very theatrical.
It's hard to tell because there are some instances in this movie that are meant to look fake, meant to look like a staged set piece of, the city is passing by, but it's very clearly on one of those turnstile wheels, so the horizon is on a weird curve, but it's meant to look... This, to me, this one is the hardest to gauge, because I think there are some instances where it looks bad but not meant to, looks bad but is meant to. This building, specifically to me, is hard to gauge.
It is, because another point we forgot about is when he goes onto the roof and he stands on his giant clock and he looks through a telescope and he holds up little plastic.
He holds up red.
What if the world looked yellow?
Yeah, he's got, while she's describing, or they're talking about his perfect utopia, the world he wants to build, and she still not entirely on board because her dad hates him. It's like, well, what do you think of this? How would you solve this? And he's got this little telescope, and he just holds up a red gel for anybody that's done theater. He holds up a red gel and is just looking at the world but red. It goes across the clock. There's a clock inlaid on the floor of the top of this building, so nobody can really read it. It doesn't serve a purpose.
Yeah.
But he walks across the clock and holds up yellow, and his only responses are, I don't know, I don't have time to think about that, I'm building the future. And her response is, isn't this the future you're building?
And so anyway, she shows up and he's like, I didn't rape that person. And they're like, we know. You're fine. He's like, nah, but they think I'm a bitch now, and then I can't stop time anymore. And she's like, what if you did it for me? And then she holds his hand and he stops time, and then she kisses him, and then that literally never comes up again. We don't stop time for the rest of the movie.
That's not true.
Well, there's one more. We'll get to there because that's more like a sort of ending thing.
Got it.
Because
so,
like that's the end of the time stop. But the whole reason he can stop time is so that someone can go, he's a rapist, and then they go acquitted, and then he's like, all right, well now I have the support of a good woman, so I can stop time whenever the fuck I feel like it.
I think it is a muse thing. It's like, oh, I've lost. It's unclear of what he loses, but they make it clear that, oh, she has like reinvigorated his love for the world and everything and wanting to move society, and that love is all you need, as the Beatles once sang.
Yeah, what a lame reason for what's a pretty cool movie. Like, all these cool moving parts are boiling down to these like very, very basic and lame reasons, like love will see you through. And I'm like, shut the fuck. You can stop time and there's giant moving statues. We didn't even talk about that. At one point he's like, I gotta go visit my wife who's dead and everyone thinks I killed her. And he hallucinates in a room that his wife is still alive.
Yeah, there's like all of these like handmaidens that are like tending to her, like brushing her hair, making sure she's clean.
Playing the harp. Some very old school Roman shit.
Yeah, and Julia follows Julia follows him to this empty apartment, looks in, and he like kisses the pillow, but like in his vision, he's like kissing her on the forehead. And instead of saying, "Oh no, he's fucking insane," she's like, "Oh, he still loves her."
Well, that's because this is all a fantasy world. No one has a regular reaction to anything in this world.
No, but how do you get, "Oh, he still loves her," from kissing a pillow? Like,
she can see that he sees the vision. They drove past living statues to get here
true.
that are dying because the city's dying.
And they go
Those
to-
never come up again, by the way.
No. And there's also a magic flower shop that is glowing and is very hard to look at.
And that is him imagining, but she can see it.
Yeah.
So his visions are sometimes real.
And the flowers are real that he buys?
They sure could be.
That's a great way to talk about everything weird in this movie. Is it real? Sure could be.
Listen, it definitely might be.
Is the baby real?
Which baby?
They're-
The baby. So anyway, this all builds to Aubrey Plaza has Shia LaBeouf eat her pussy. Well, she says, "Call me your aunt," because she's married into being his step aunt.
Yeah,
They fuck awesome in this movie.
they fuck awesome and often.
If you thought him banging his sisters was hot, wait till you see him banging his aunt.
Francis Ford Coppola really had a vision with this film.
Yeah, and I was finally on board with the movie. I was like, all right, I'm picking up what you're putting down, FFC. Let's see it. And so then she hikes up her skirt and she's like, "Eat my butt now." And he does that. And again, and then they give John Voight a heart attack. They steal his money.
He fakes being paralyzed after a stroke.
Yeah, Adam Driver takes a fucking bullet to the face.
Yeah, that's where I thought... you said in the theater, this is the kind of movie that could kill Adam Driver and there'd still be an hour left in the movie. A kid shoots him.
With just a blicky, just a 9mm, nothing future, nothing.
Kid runs up to his limo and he says, "I'm a fan." Like the most stone-faced kid ever. And he's like, "What's your name?" Billy. He's like, "Oh, Billy, I used to be your age, Billy. Can you believe I used to be your age, Billy?" Uh-huh.
And then he's kerbloosh.
"It was nice meeting you, Billy. It was nice meeting you too, Miss, what's his last name?
Catalina.
Mr. Catalina. Goodbye, Mr. Catalina," and pulls a gun and shoots him.
And it freeze frames, and we do kind of like a you ever played the game Crisis? Sort of like one of those cutscenes where we're rebuilding him.
Yeah.
One of those things, and we can kind of start telling. They put the super metal he built into his face to stop the bullet in his brain, because he kind of stopped it with his time powers, it's implied.
He yelled time stop as his brain was being blown apart.
Yeah. So I forgot he used it there, but it didn't stop everything. It just stopped the bullet in his face. Mm-hmm. And then they put his metal in there, and he becomes Lisan al-Gaib for just a little bit.
God, there's a moment he's recovering, he's suffering, he's obviously in a great deal of pain, and Julia's by his side the whole time. She's ride or die.
He's got brain damage, it seems like, because he has freakouts occasionally and stuff like that.
I would have a freak out too if my time magic reversed my death in a weird way.
And he's having visions of his dead wife.
I also wouldn't be okay if this happened to me, but I'm not built different like Adam Driver is, because he goes to his uncle.
Yeah.
And he's got like gauze over half of his face, like Two-Face. He's walking with a cane, and he's just like, "I need to know why my accounts were frozen. Uncle, why?"
Aubrey Plaza tries to talk him down, and he reveals his half skeleton robot face now from metal.
It's like a golden skull finish.
And she immediately pledges allegiance to the White Pharaoh as he hypnotizes her.
Yeah, there's like this weird effect of like there's 5 of him in like a kaleidoscopic effect, and he's just like, "I'm God, I think."
And then he walks in, and Shia LaBeouf's like, "Holy shit, that's who he tried to kill?
Megalopolis is my Arrakis."
That might be the White Pharaoh.
And
that's the quiz. That's Haderach. I don't know what to do. And so then that is never seen again. In the next scene, Adam Driver's face is fixed. It healed over.
Yeah.
Which fucking sucks, because that was sick. And then they're like, all right, well, Shia LaBeouf runs the city now. And Adam Driver then tries to build his utopia, which is a big flower. It's just his city is flowers. Everyone lives in flowers, and they stand on just self-move. You know those
it's a conveyor belt.
the walkways in airports.
Yeah.
It's just those, but it's made of gold.
They travel like ribbons up and around the flowers.
Yeah. And he's like, in my super future, everyone will ride around in bubbles. And we see a slideshow of him inventing this. And it just looks like art, like just like demo art. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gives a speech because Shia LaBeouf and him are fighting for kind of control of the money. John Voight, dressed as Robin Hood, says, look at how big my boner is in his bed. And they're like, damn, that's crazy. And he pulls it open and it's a bow and arrow. And then he shoots Aubrey Plaza. He kills her. He shoots Shia LaBeouf in the butthole.
Twice.
And then Adam Driver gives a speech and he says, we can build a perfect future. They cut to just like Pixabay stock footage of New York City. And then they show Hitler. And then Adam Driver's like, so it's a pretty good argument, right? And everyone goes, awesome point, dude. And he had a baby with Julia.
Yes, this is like the emotional through line of the film is how important family is.
And then Shia LaBeouf is hung upside down with his Nazi boyfriend, and they are pelted with shoes. And then...
So, you're glossing over so much.
What else is there?
So,
That's the movie.
So, Cicero is not happy that Julia's working with Adam Driver, Caesar. And they invite, as a show of good faith, they invite him over to their house and says, we live in this flower together. And Cicero says, I don't like that you're dating my daughter. And says,
why don't you play cards? I have beans on the table.
Yeah, it's like, let's play cards. I put out beans, which this might be a real game that neither of us know about, but they do just have four little ashtrays of dried beans, and they're just gambling with beans. I was like, I put up 4 beans on my hand of cards.
He was like, calm down, buddy. There's beans. You know what this means. I was like, I don't fucking know what you're talking about. Why am I in a flower?
We're in a flower playing beans, and I porked your daughter.
She's pregnant. If it's a son, we're gonna name him Francis. If it's a daughter, we're gonna name him Sunshine Mellow or some bullshit. Name her Honeysuckle Paradise. The name didn't make any sense.
No, but it seemed important that it's like, if it's a boy, we're going to name him Francis. And then that's when Cicero get ups and leaves in a huff. And then later, I think this was probably, legitimately, this was the most dramatically weighted scene in the film. And the fact that I think it mattered made it feel out of place. So through the whole movie, it's like unclear whether or not Adam Driver had a hand in his first wife's death. But early on, Cicero makes a comment of like, the public doesn't know whether or not you're guilty. You know, you're a suspicious man. And Adam Driver says, well, you should know better than anybody that I'm innocent. Like, regardless of whether or not I did it, I'm an innocent man. Like, I was acquitted. And it's revealed later, Cicero brings a document, a sealed document, says, this is my confession. It's revealed that he was DA while Cicero was being tried for the death of his wife.
Caesar.
Caesar, having 2 like soft C names is really fucking. But he says, you know, this is my confession, revealing that I had a hand in acquitting you for your wife's death. Leave Julia and the child. You know, let them go.
Acquitting you for your wife's death? He's saying we botched the investigation.
That was it.
Like, you should have been acquitted, but like we have proof you're not at all suspicious, but we still tried to try you.
Yeah, it's like I will completely clear you. I will.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a fast track to gaining, instead of, you know, 50-50 people are and aren't for you, this will fast track you to being the most powerful person in the world.
Yeah.
Leave my daughter and soon to be grandchild alone. And he makes a point of saying, you know, oh, please, you know, call me Frank, not short for Franklin, it's short for Francis. And that's where okay, so that's why he was upset that Adam Driver's kid would have his name.
That was the most powerful scene to you?
I think that truly was a good reveal. And I think it added new and different stakes, but it's undercut by the rest of the movie not really doing much of anything, because Adam Driver never even really considers it. He's like, nah, I love, you, Cicero, make it a point of saying how important family is. Family is important to me too. I love your daughter and I'm going to love this child. So
I thought the most impactful scene was when Aubrey Plaza said, "Eat my butt and call me auntie." That one really moved me in the theater.
Different strokes for different folks.
Oh, someone was getting stroked in the theater, I promise you that.
All right. So, yeah, we get a lot of nonsense. We get the scene of John Voight pulling back on that bow in the most pathetic way possible and killing Aubrey Plaza, shooting. Yeah, all that stuff happens. Of Shia LaBeouf gets strung up with his Nazi boyfriend, and then Caesar says, "Live in my super world," and Giancarlo and his goblin wife are like, "Oh, okay." She's not. I think there's a very lovely little moment towards the end of the movie where Giancarlo Esposito's wife is willing to step into the future, willing to accept Adam Driver as, son-in-law. She steps onto his stupid magic conveyor belt and says, "No, come on, Frankie, please, honey, join me." And he's reaching out like it's impossible. He's like, I can't. But they have this moment at the end where love wins. Yeah, the whole movie is just love wins and family matters. They're up on this platform, and the camera's really weird because we're seeing up through a glass platform up to them, and it's like, wow, I sure do love my family. They put the baby on the ground, and both couples kiss, and then we do a Looney Tunes circles. Well, Adam Driver goes, "Time, stop." And fireworks freeze behind them. Everybody kisses. And it freezes for everyone except the baby. And then Looney Tunes zoom in on the baby. Baby goes goo goo gaga. And then it zeroes in. I couldn't believe it. I was so pissed because this movie was so awesome. It's about family. Yeah, it's about your step-aunt, buddy. It is about family, and Shia LaBeouf's the only one locked into the family enough to make this movie worth watching. Can't believe I'm watching Caesar Catalina love his wife on this gay shit. Get the fuck back to Aubrey Plaza. I'll watch Shia LaBeouf bang that Nazi before I'll watch this stupid baby having life. I hate you. That being said, this movie's not good, but I like it. Yeah, I think that's a good, low rating, but it gets the heart on Letterboxd. It has a heart. I think, yeah. And 120 misused dollars. Well, right as it ends, I thought it was an in memoriam. It says, "For my wife Eleanor?" Maybe it's very clearly all of this this magnum opus was leading up to a beautiful everybody's gonna kiss and hold hands and love each other, and it's this is family matters. My family matters. This is for my wife, and I thought it was an in memoriam, and I was and I was just imagining his wife who is alive. Yeah, thinking back to all of his great films, Godfather Part 2, all of the things this one was for me. Mm-hmm. This one was for me, Frankie. Yeah. All right. No, none of the other ones had Shia LaBeouf in them. Save the best for last, you ungrateful bitch. That being said, watch this movie. Speaking of ungrateful wives, is that our segue? Kevin Costner went through a divorce to fund the next movie, leaving the acclaimed, well-respected, well-enjoyed, very popular show Yellowstone about sort of modern cowboys as it went into its final season. My mom liked Yellowstone. Everyone over 40 liked Yellowstone. I remember when I worked at Fuego, which is a usually very trendy store. Yeah. We sold Yellowstone t-shirts. Nobody bought them. Well, Fuego's the wrong store age for that. Yeah, but it was popular enough to where somebody in charge thought that we should really cash in on the Yellowstone hype. Because the person in charge is probably 50.
Yellowstone was breaking it in though. Like it was
Okay.
a very popular show. Kevin Costner was the lead. Or like I don't exactly know. I never watched it because
Me either.
I'm not old enough to. I'd probably enjoy it, but I like older cowboys more than I like modern sort of westerns. So I should, in theory, like this movie we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
But he leaves it to make his own self-financed, funded western drama, written, produced. I don't know if he was the only writer. I didn't check.
Directed.
But directed. He's the star behind it. Very similar to Megalopolis. He is the creative lead and drive behind Horizon, an American saga
Chapter 1.
of 4.
I remember when we first saw, at least the first trailer I saw for this was in a theater. I can't remember. I think we were watching something. But it just had a lot of quick shots of all the recognizable faces. It'd be like, oh, like here's all the faces you can hope to see. And, you know, American Saga Chapter 1 in theaters, this exact date. Also chapters 2, 3, and 4. And they had exact dates for when they were going into theaters. Like, weren't we supposed to get 2 before the end of the year?
Yeah, so I also remember the trailer because I remember thinking it was pretty low energy. Like, for whatever reason, the trailer didn't connect with me, and it should have.
No.
Because, again, similar to Megalopolis, this is the shit I want in theaters. Just westerns, just classic movies. It's not a fucking...
A passion project, even.
Yeah, and it's not a franchise. It's just a genre. It's just a thing.
Well, it is a franchise now, but...
It's not a franchise in the same way I'm talking about. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's more just one long story split up for fucking...
In a 12-hour long story split up into 4 3-hour movies.
And I remember, I think there was an exact date of Horizon, you know, the first one.
Yeah.
I think the second one had a month, and then the third two had
2025.
like quarters, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. Second quarter, 2025.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, or something like that. Yeah.
because the first one was supposed to open the summer, and the second one was supposed to close the summer. And then I think their goal was to do the same thing the next year.
Okay. So like May to June, and then like maybe early September would have been the...
I think it was like May, September was their hope.
Yeah.
So sort of like every 6 months ish, or like every 4 months, you're hoping for another Horizon or something like that. That being said, we are past when Horizon Chapter 2 was supposed to drop.
Hey, Kevin, where's my Horizon Chapter 2?
So I think it played, or some amount of it played at festivals and got...
Some amount of it.
Oh, I don't fucking know, and we'll get to that because I don't know how much of...
They played 10 minutes and everybody walked out, so they just turned it off.
And I don't think it's getting great reviews. Because Horizon Chapter 1 is remarkably boring.
I am of the belief that Kevin Costner is a good director. I think this film looked like every classic cowboy movie. It was directed in such a way where I looked every scene, I was like, yeah, this is a cowboy movie.
Interesting.
And the issue is, I don't think it did anything remarkable. So it's 3 hours of I've seen this before.
That's very fair. I don't know that it didn't feel very Western to me in many regards of how it was shot.
Some of the dialogue, in my opinion, felt really weird. Like, I don't know if they would say that in 18 whenever, but you know.
Like, how many times people say Jesus? They go, Jesus Christ, after everything.
Oh, yeah. There wouldn't be blaspheming like that.
I don't know if there would or wouldn't. It just was weird that everyone says it.
There was something in particular. There was, oh, fuck, what was her name?
Don't look at me. I got Caesar Catalina. I've used up all my name recognition powers.
The prostitute.
Oh, yeah. Her name's Whore.
She said
Her name's Jezebel.
Ruby something Ruby or
Yeah.
something to that effect. She said something and I was like, that just sounds like almost modern slang.
Her delivery and character is very... She doesn't fit this
No.
Wild West world. And a lot of the filmmaking didn't feel overwhelmingly Western to me. It felt... There's two types of Western filmmaking to me. There's like ones that feel classically Western and then ones that feel modern Western. It felt very modern Western to me, but was trying to evoke classic Western, so it ends up with this weird split.
Can you give me, and by proxy the audience, an example of both of those?
Time period. Spaghetti westerns will feel very like classic western. They are evoking that classic western style. Something like Rio Bravo, despite not having the like horizons and the sort of classic shots of the western, or the classic John Ford stylings of anything from Stagecoach to The Searchers, it still captures that western feel. Something like True Grit. Something like
The New True Grit.
yeah, something like,
Oh, okay.
I'm blanking on names now.
Tombstone? Something like 90s?
Tombstone's a great example of it will feel modern despite being in a western time.
Okay.
So this feels like it's filmed like Tombstone but thinks it's The Searchers.
Gotcha.
And so that's I guess my issue. Sorry, I went kind of a little ramble about westerns there. You didn't realize you were uncorking that sucker, did you?
I knew I was, and I knew
okay.
this is a genre that you really like, or a genre that matters to you. So I figured you would have more to say about this than I would.
But I think you're right when you're saying it sort of evokes a western feel. You're like, okay, I get it. This is feeling westerny, but then at the same time, you're like, that doesn't feel right. And I think that's what you're touching on. Whether you have the words to describe it, whether a viewer can be like, oh, this is like this movie, but not like this movie. It does feel sort of just like, huh.
It feels like everything we've done. But there wasn't a single shot in this movie that felt new.
There's one shot I was like, I love that. And that was it.
Which one?
They look down at the valley where the mining town is sort of hidden in, and you're at the top of a hill looking into a field that becomes trees, that becomes a mountain. And it's a very closed in horizon with very little sky space, but it really feels like you're looking into a hidden world.
Okay.
It's very good. And like with westerns, you want landscapes, and I liked that landscape.
I do think that in the idea of Western movies is that, and I guess a lot of period pieces, is the time you're living in, the world you're living in is a character. So, you know, like in the Wild West, you get a lot of those landscape shots. But I think even in other period pieces, you know, just historical period pieces, like if you're watching a World War II movie, you're going to see lots of crumbling French villas because that's the world you're living in.
Yeah. Horizon, it's covering a lot of area, right? We're in Wyoming, we're in Montana, we're in sort of further north than we are in a lot of places. A lot of classic westerns are filmed in Utah, and they're sort of set in more southern areas.
Yeah, what would become New Mexico and Arizona once those become states.
Yeah, and from that Texas up through there, even if they're filmed not there, they're set there, and they sort of they try to emulate that.
Going out past El Paso.
Here, we're definitely not obscuring where we're supposed to be, and we're supposed to be a little almost not Pacific Northwest, but like when you get Montana, you know, that sort of trees and snow and mountains. So we open with... What the fuck do we open with?
We open with something that doesn't matter.
Right, we open with a guy prospecting
with his son
to build a settlement. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a husband, wife, and a son, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're just there a little bit, and immediately I'm hit with very, very classic movie score, like just sort of like happy-go-lucky, like soaring orchestral score.
I think a good Western needs to have, like, in terms of like score composition, you gotta have brass in there. I think like trumpets that like that. Not necessarily Indiana Jones, but I think there needs to be something like, oh, we're in the Wild West. You know,
for me, it just felt out of place.
Yeah, I didn't like the score very much.
It was immediately it felt trying too hard to set that Western tone. And maybe if everything else was feeling right, it would have worked. But remember when we watched Butch Cassidy and Sundance and the Singing in the Rain segment that like bounces off of us because it's just like too removed, where like back then it's just earnest. But by this point, we're so postmodern. It's just like... This music also kind of bounces off you in that similar way.
Yeah, it might be something with us, but I did appreciate about both these films, Megalopolis and Horizon, there is an earnestness in loving what you're doing. Like Francis Ford Coppola, I don't think ever once doubted himself with Megalopolis.
No.
He was locked in for the whole thing. He had a vision, and I think that Kevin Costner loves westerns. He loves cowboy movies, and he, in earnest, wanted to make just a bunch of vignettes of life on the prairie, is how I would describe this movie.
In a bad way. What Kevin Costner also loves is himself, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But
oh my God.
We open with those three, and then we cut to like a couple native kids watching them, and again the music shifts to like, ooh, oh, like you know, like bird calls and wind and like native.
I used to be able to. No, I can't. I used to be able to.
But like that, whoa, 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 like that sort of like very, yes, like classic, like, oh, the people of the earth are here. And I get it. That's very part of the Western DNA. But it is so on the nose and so retreading old ground.
There is a lot. I noticed a lot of the depictions of Native people, and obviously, like, they weren't going to call, they weren't going to say Native Americans. They were going to call them Indians, because that was the time. But just the depiction felt very like 70s and 80s, very
interesting. I thought the depiction was interesting, and I guess we'll get to that when they have the big sort of scenes.
Yeah, well, I'm also just thinking about like how they don't, again, and this is probably a difference between classical and modern westerns, is there is. So I watched this movie with subtitles because I thought it was not mixed very well, but they did not have subtitles for the natives.
They did.
The version I watched did not have. I only had English subtitles for the English speakers. So I was never clued in once to what the natives were doing or talking about.
Well, you missed out on exactly one plot point that has no relevance to the rest of the movie, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
And I'll fill you in when we get to that.
So I guess from my perspective, the natives were never given a perspective.
Okay, they do give them a perspective in the scene where they're talking with each other.
Okay, I was not given that, so I'm just watching. Again, I have subtitles on, and they're talking to each other, and it's like, oh, I guess what they're saying doesn't matter. What are you trying to say with that, Kevin Costner?
No, they have. So
we watched two different movies.
Basically. Well, we watched two different 15-minute vignettes, which is what this might as well be a fucking anthology picture. So
this could have been a pretty okay TV show.
What do you call it? Those three white dudes building that house, or the family. We then cut to a dude riding a horse who's like, I'm looking for horizon, and he's got a pamphlet. And an old man is like, it's over there. And then they talk back and forth for a while.
You missed it. You got to go back the way you came. And he's in like an old dilapidated missionary, like in just an old broken church.
And he hates the world. And the dude who's asking for directions seems to be very good natured, offers him food.
Did you eat today? And he's, you eat today, pal? I'm not your pal, friend. And he's like, oh, you're kind of an asshole.
But he's like, okay, you have a good one. And he walks away. And you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be the Heart of Gold character. And we follow him. And then he finds the dead family, the boy and the husband and wife, all dead, and he buries them with crosses, and then he is never seen again.
Nope, never seen again. That's just, I think, to put a bow on that first vignette of, hey, this family dead.
And that where they're trying to build is at this river crossing that is near Apache territory and is sort of a central point for these native, like, not raiding parties, but like natives can raid them very easily, and the Union Army cannot defend very easily. So building here as a bunch of white settlers is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. But the tenacity of the American spirit says, I'll settle wherever the fuck I want to settle.
We need to build here. So then a new settlement builds there. And we don't really see them do that. We just kind of cut to they've done it.
Yeah, we're only given, from what I remember, we're only given location names, times in passing of like, oh, we're in, but like we're not given like, oh, 10 years later and they show the settlement. It's just the settlement's there now.
Yeah, and we don't even see that yet, actually, because first we have to cut to Wyoming territory.
Is this the woman shooting the man?
Yeah.
Yep.
Where a woman shoots a man who at first I thought was that guy who buried that family, but he's not.
No.
And
this movie was awful for your face blindness because there's about a bajillion characters that don't matter.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, so I guess he's a bad guy. And then I was like, well, no, it must be someone different later. And then she shoots him, and then she steals a baby and runs away. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
The most I got out of that was, okay, he was probably abusive in some manner. He probably had it coming. I don't know who that is, but...
And you'll never find out.
No, it's the dad of some other guys.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah, because there's other guys that show up later, and it's like, it's us, the son of the guy that you shot. And that's when I realized, oh, that's the woman that shot the man earlier.
Oh, I had that same realization. So that guy gets shot, and then his sons are like, well, we got to find out who shot dad. And mom is like, go fucking find out, the two of you sons. And so they ride out. Then we cut to this new settlement that is eventually clued in, is built on that same place that first settlement died. Mm-hmm. And they've gotten a little bit further this time. And they're having a party, and they all dance together. And we are introduced to another family, a husband, a wife, and 2 kids now.
Yes.
And then another raid happens. Another Apache raid happens. And they just fucking murder everybody. And
they hide in a mine, right? They hide in a...
They've got this like cropping between 2 like caves that they can kind of defend and stuff like that.
Well, I'm just thinking about when they put the shotgun up through the dirt.
Oh, that's a like a secret basement. That's not on mine because they're hunched. It's under the floor. But during this raid, it sets the tone that this movie is going to be brutal, but it's also going to be realistic, and that's in the sense that the American West history, when we first started making Westerns, I've talked about this before, but in the 30s and even during the settling of the Wild West, when we weren't making movies, but we were doing novels about the Wild West, the idea was take the land from the savages and everything like that and manifest destiny. Like, white people get this land. Eventually, we realized Native Americans were humans, and we were like, ah, shucks. So the settling of the Wild West is like this weird thing where, I mean, townsfolk went there and were murdered by like Apache raids and stuff like that. But they were taking land that wasn't theirs. So yes, the Apache raids, they're like killing women and children and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's land that used to be theirs that we've just taken from them. So it's like most aspects in history, it's like it's going to be just a bloody gray area of sadness. And that's what the movie felt like to me, what it was trying to show with these you
felt like this movie was trying to show something?
Well, just with the treatment of like the Apache raids and everything like that, where it's like, what can you do? Like that was the history, and no, people shouldn't have tried to take their land, but people did try to take their land, and the response was brutal, and that is what it is. We see them just murder people. There's one cut that I'm just like, come on, where a woman's running and she takes an arrow to the back and it looks like bad CG. And then she takes a second arrow and she like reacts really lamely. And I was like, oh, that looks terrible. And then we cut back to her and she's got 2 arrows in her back as a native guy like yanks her baby away from her and I think kills it or, drop kicks it. Mm-hmm. And we see all these people die in different ways. Like one family blows themselves up to kill themselves and a native guy at the same time.
They shoot a native guy and splatter him all over a woman.
Yeah. We've eventually reached the family who's holed up in their last house outpost. And the wife and daughter are put under the floorboards to live. The son actually chooses to stay with his dad and die fighting off the natives. I don't really know what the meaning of that is. I don't really get the point.
What's the point of the whole movie?
And that's another thing.
Why?
And everything we've talked about so far...
What was the point of the Good Samaritan that buried the first family?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Everything we've talked about so far is about 45 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've noticed, I have not once said Kevin Costner. Because he's not in this 3-hour movie yet. All of this is set up for 2 things from what I can tell. That wife and that daughter. And then the kid. There's a boy who escapes this raid on a horse and they let him go. they don't hunt him down. And he finds the Union outpost that's like 26 miles away. So there's 3 survivors from this raid. A wife and a daughter who are underground, who they eventually find, the Union Army finds, and that boy who found the Union Army. They will appear in this movie later in little bits, but it doesn't have any point or relevance other than that location that was raided is going to be the location of a town they keep trying to build called Horizon, which is the name of the movie. And I wasn't clear on that until the end of the movie, and I'm kind of just assuming it.
That's more than I got out of this. I must have missed any time they said Horizon.
They don't say it. It's on the pamphlet.
Oh.
The pamphlet keeps calling it Horizon. The Samaritan in the very opening of the movie might say, I'm looking for the town Horizon. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I do remember him saying, I'm looking for...
Yeah.
But again, like, I think this movie was not mixed very well.
He says, I'm looking for a town. I don't know if he even says Horizon, but the pamphlet says Horizon.
Okay.
And we come back to this pamphlet over and over again.
Okay.
And I'm assuming every establishment building, and they talk about the settlement, is Horizon. I'm assuming.
It's the same town over and over again on this. They could have picked some kind of natural fucking landmark other than generic river.
It's a river crossing.
There could have been, oh, look at this big unique tree. We're going to keep trying to build around, like, by the river with this big tree.
And so then they go to the Union town, or the town that's been burned down. The Union shows up, and they say, why are you building here? And they're like, we need to. We'll try again. And the Union general's like, I don't get it. Oh. And I'm like, you and me both, brother.
I loved the Union characters.
Michael
Rooker and the bad guy from The Crow.
Yeah, Danny Huston.
Yeah, Danny Huston. One of my favorite performances in the movie, but he's in like 2 scenes, which is a running issue. They have people that are locked in, like Michael Rooker is locked in for this film. Mm-hmm. He's great in all of the 4 scenes he has.
You've got, it's sort of like Oppenheimer, how it's every name in the movie for 10 minutes. But in Oppenheimer, everyone knocks it out of the park. And in this, everyone just does their own little movie. And you're like, I don't know how this is related.
Yeah.
So all of this happens. The town is burned down, blah, blah, blah. The Union realizes it, and they say, you got to build somewhere else. And they say, we won't. We're going to keep trying. The few other survivors of the raid. And then we cut 1 hour in to a wagon trail, and Kevin Costner rides into frame.
There he is.
And he's leading this wagon trail. Now, pop quiz. What's that wagon trail about?
The wagon train that he's...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's a shitty pop quiz. You don't even know the answer to your own fucking question.
This is the Horizon. It's a shitty pop quiz of a movie.
Horizon. Why was the wagon train? Horizon.
And this sets up another thing, which is I expected this movie to be act 1 of a story. It's not. It's like the opening scene of like 4 different movies. And just every couple minutes, every 45 minutes, we switch to a new opening scene of a movie.
Do you want to know how you know the movie's coming to an end?
How?
Because the music swells and it shows you the faces of the surviving cast that we've seen, and then credits roll.
Yes.
The music swells and it's like, wow, we just went on an incredible 3-hour journey with all these newly beloved characters. Like the whore Ruby Carbuncle.
So, and there's something else about that ending too.
Is there?
And I have a theory about it.
Is it when they scalp natives?
No.
Okay.
That's just part of the movie. Then we're at Kevin Costner, and we're like, okay, finally, Kevin Costner is going to pull these threads together. And the next 2 hours are going to be the movie of the threads that we've started.
It's going to be Kevin meeting all these characters because all of them are around the town of Horizon.
Right.
So it's going to be this guy wandering around, meeting these folks and getting everybody rallied for a plot.
Don't love that when we cut to Kevin Costner, we faded into Montana territory. So we're in a different state, but maybe this will all make sense. So in that mining, I think they say it's a mining town. He starts writing a letter home, and the whore shows up, and she's like, do you know the clerk can't write, and there's weird comedy between them.
He's not even the clerk. He's just watching the shop, and he puts on his spectacles. She's like, yeah, because that'll fucking help you.
The clerk, by the way, or I mean, not the clerk, the prostitute, by the way, came from a house that's kind of at the top of this mining town.
Yeah, down a hill.
From a couple with a baby.
Yeah.
I keep noticing that's the trend, is there's a couple with a baby.
Yeah, well, the woman with the baby, that's the woman that shot the guy earlier, and that's the baby.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either until the Desperado sons.
The movie told me, and I was like, oh, okay.
Jethro and Eddie. I don't remember their names.
Caleb is one of them.
Is it Caleb?
Yeah, one of the sons is Caleb. The one that dies is Caleb.
Okay.
So anyway, Kevin Costner shows up and he sings to an old man and he goes, here, pay with this. And he like sprinkles salt in the dude's hand or something like that. Never see that old man again. And they said, hey, I'll collect it later. Don't. So you're assuming there's going to be a connection to meet up with this team.
No.
I don't know what the team was that he rode into town with.
They don't matter.
Because we see the married couple now with the prostitute. She's got to watch the baby. Well, the couple, the husband and wife, go to this other shed that's far away from town, and they meet up with the brothers who have been hunting the wife, and the husband doesn't know that. The husband ends up dead.
Yeah, gets pistol whipped.
And then just kind of beat to death. And he was kind of he was a poor little guy.
He was poor little bitch, man.
He was trying hard to protect his wife a little bit at the end.
Yeah, no, I thought he was like again, I think it's showing, the fun, or the nice guys in the Wild West, the nice people, they don't last long.
Yeah.
Because there's also way later in the movie when Owen Wilson's brother, Luke Wilson, I knew it started with an L. Luke Wilson, who's in charge of a different plot.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Well, there's just like there's a non-confrontational couple there. It's like, oh, we just mind our own business. In this wagon train, and they're not helping. And
they're worthless.
Yeah,
I would have killed this couple with a brick.
And in not helping in these times, you are an active hindrance.
Yeah.
Or an inactive hindrance, I guess, would be a more...
The wife manages to make herself an active hindrance.
Yeah, but anyway.
Kevin Costner meets the prostitute.
Then Ruby Carbuncle.
Then he finds out that basically the brothers, they kill the husband. They're taking the woman back for shooting their dad. We never see her again for the rest of the movie. So maybe that'll come in Horizon Chapter 2.
Is all of this already filmed? Is this like Lord of the Rings where they filmed it all?
2 is filmed. I don't think 3 and 4 are done filming.
Are they going to?
That's the big fucking question. That's what we're all waiting to find out.
We might only get Horizon Chapter 3 piecing together the bits they filmed of 3 and 4.
Because I think the funding was there for 1 into 2, and then 1 and 2 we're going to pay for 3 and 4.
Oh, no.
Like, as they're releasing 1, they're filming 3, I thought was the idea, sort of. Like, they didn't come out and tell us their finances, but I thought that felt like the implication.
Right.
Which is why, in my mind, when they first announced it, they gave a date for 1, a month for 2, and quarters for 3 and 4, because they didn't have them all pieced together yet.
Gotcha.
So... Kevin Costner just ends up walking up to this house where he knows the whore lives because she says, come over here and bang me while I'll put the baby to sleep.
That baby could sleep through anything, I promise you.
And we'll put it to the test. He's going up there ostensibly to bang her, and then he meets the younger brother who's like the angry, wild one, and they just talk and talk and talk, and slowly you're supposed to realize they're gonna have a shootout, but that there's no tension in the scene.
No, they just pull guns.
Eventually you piece it together and you're like, oh, okay, a shootout's about to happen.
I've pieced that together when they drew their guns.
Okay. I pieced it together a little bit before that.
Okay.
But not much. And the brother basically says, if you don't know me, you don't understand who runs the area. My family does. So you fuck with us, you fuck with it. Like, anyone who fucks with us in this town, anyone who fucks with this area fucks with us.
I'm invincible because I run bang, bang, bang.
He does. He tries to kill Kevin Costner. He loses the duel. Only time, really, shit happens with our main character in the movie. I get there was a raid in the beginning, but we didn't know any of those fucking characters, so I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I thought there was going to be an issue between Kevin Costner and the town because there's a shootout, somebody's dead, and there's a moment where he looks over his shoulder down the hill a bit, and people at the edge of the town are like kind of gathering and looking like there was a shootout. So I thought there was going to be some kind of tension.
Yeah, that leads to nothing.
No, everybody's looking like, oh, looks like someone's dead.
Because it would make sense, because if you fuck with us, we run the area, you fuck with our family. So maybe the town would go like, hey, my God, you just killed the brother of the boss. Or like,
we are all fucked now.
Yeah, they're going to just burn this mining town down. None of that happened. No mention of it, no anything. Kevin Costner then says, grab the baby, we're going to run out of town. And he just leaves. And then he's on a journey for weeks. Like, they're on the run for days.
Yep.
And you don't know why he's willing to go so far. You don't know anything. You eventually learn his name. I don't remember what it is.
Me either.
But it's like Emery or something like that. There's no reason for any of it. And then we're like, all right. And then that's 45 minutes of that. And then we cut to Luke Wilson, the next movie.
Just a different...
And again...
And he's in charge of a different wagon train, and the only thing that happens is this annoying couple are annoying, and she tries to take a sponge bath and gets peeped on, and Luke Wilson talks to these... They have... What accent is that? Is it Russian? Yeah. Talks to these Slavic Neanderthals. One of them stands up in a very, like, confrontational way of, like, are we going to have a problem? And... Luke says no and leaves like a pussy.
No, Luke Wilson is the best character in the movie.
Oh yeah, but he's still a pussy.
He's not a pussy because the guy helped. Remember, he helped with the wagon. The Russian guy was strong enough to lift the wagon.
Yes.
So he's not going to get into a fight and lose the guy that's strong enough to help. He's the only character that has understandable stakes, where he cannot start fights with these dudes because he needs their help to keep the wagon train running. These are some of their strongest guys.
Yeah.
He's not going to go to bat for this guy's wife because this dude's too much of a pussy to even just like go. Like, he tries to push him. He's like, well, I understand why you wouldn't talk to him. You can't talk to him about it. He's like, well, I thought I should go to management. And he goes, yeah, so go talk to your wife. Or are you scared of her too?
You're too scared to talk. Not most times.
Yeah, and so it's like a little funny, but it's also him saying, like, I wouldn't have to do this if you would just punch the guy who peeped on your wife. Like, you could just get in a fight, and then you both have black eyes, even Steven. Everyone go their own direction. Mm-hmm. And his wife is constantly indignant. I don't know what her character is supposed to be other than the most hateable woman on the planet.
I just hate that we have to wait 2 hours to get to a likable character with Luke Wilson.
You and me both. Don't worry. I'm just saying it's crazy that the movie's not just about him, because he's the only one that has seen any sort of, like, the only guy I understand. And like another cool shot in the movie when he's walking this, he leads the wagon train. Mm-hmm. He looks up and you see an Apache scout, and someone rides up and goes like, "There's an Apache scout," and he goes, "I know, but what do you want me to do about it? We're not going to rush a scout down." Well, hopefully it won't. He's like, "Hopefully it won't be a problem." And he goes, "Well, now there's two." And you look up and it's the exact same shot, but it's two guys on horseback standing next to each other. Great shot. So anyway, he's just like solving problems for this wagon train that's going somewhere. Again, because there's a town called Horizon and the movie is called Horizon, I'm assuming they're going to Horizon retroactively. Never brought up.
No, they're just moving.
That goes on for a while.
Every now and then it's worth mentioning these vignettes we're talking about are sprinkled in each other.
Yeah.
Like, we just mentioned 3 or 4 Luke Wilson scenes. These are 15 minutes apart from each other, broken up by 2 different vignettes. Sometimes we're cut back to the Union soldiers, Michael Rooker taking his daughter's bed out to the wife and daughter from the very beginning of the movie.
And we're waiting for these, it's like points in a spiral that you're assuming are going to spiral together.
No.
And instead it's just like starting points. Like, maybe they'll spiral together by Horizon 4, but I don't fucking have any clue what this has to do with each other. And I can, like, again, I'm not an idiot. I can assume this will connect eventually, but you have to give me some breadcrumb or some indication of where we're going.
We're going to Horizon. All of this is circling around the same town, hopefully.
We're assuming, because the movie's called Horizon. But if the movie was called Costnermania, if the movie was called any other Western name, if the movie was called Sundown or some shit like that,
Once Upon a Cost in the West,
would you have any idea that it was all circling around Horizon? Mm-mm. And I get it, a title's supposed to inform you, but the story should inform you too.
But also, it doesn't sound like the name of a town. When the name of the movie Horizon, an American Saga, makes me think looking at the horizon of the Wild West and chasing that manifest destiny.
Well, I think that's the implication.
But not knowing that the town is called Horizon, I think severely diminishes the movie.
I feel like they probably should have made the eponymous title or the eponymous town relevant. We should have pieced that one together.
They should have called it something that sounds like a town. Fucksville. Welcome to, but it's spelled like the composer. F-U-C or F-U-C-H. Fucksville.
Would have gotten something out of it.
Yeah. Welcome to Fucksville, Pennsylvania. Sure are a lot of wild desperados for being in Pennsylvania in 1850.
Hey, there's enough people here. Maybe a movie will happen. Anyway, Wyoming territory.
I hate it.
So then Costner just runs away with the prostitute. They're on the run.
They have sex eventually. I remember that.
Yeah. And this whole movie just feels like Costner thought this idea was genius.
It feels like 4 novels, and like each chapter, chapter 1, chapter 2, is a different perspective for a character. Because then you could market it. The first one is, again, it's a bunch of, short stories. And then by the second volume of these novels, maybe they start coming together. Because there are other really good works of fiction. Again, that's subjective. Fiction is super subjective. But people love the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. Does the same thing where it's like, there's each chapter is going to be a different person in a different part of the world doing something. I'm sure these will come together eventually, and there might be a name that comes around, or like the woman with the baby who kills the guy at the beginning. Her thread runs through the Desperados, Kevin Costner, or the town being a recurring place, or this location. There's lots of things that are kind of recurring, but nothing overlaps in a satisfying way.
That's the thing I was going to say, is that I don't doubt a movie could work this way too if all those threads were coherent in any way. Even something as simple as knowing every group wants to get to Horizon. Some sort of dialogue, everyone thinking of this promised land of Horizon, we're seeing that Horizon is being raided and doesn't exist yet or whatever, would make an understandable movie. But I'm just betting they're going to Horizon. And like Costner doesn't give a fuck, and he's the main character. He doesn't give a shit about Horizon. He's on the run from dudes who want this baby, and they wanted a woman who shot a man, and we don't know why.
The first time we see Kevin Costner, he's already made it. And even retroactively now, talking about it,
he hasn't made it to Horizon.
That's
a mining town's not Horizon.
That's a different town. Okay.
Horizon is the intersection of the rivers where those 3
and there
people
isn't a town there.
Exactly. So you see, and you watched the movie. You should know. And I'm assuming all of this. I do know that mining town isn't Horizon, but so much is conjecture. The thing you missed, by the way, the native subsection, by the way, where they just talked, was just the 2 native groups, or the tribe that raided, has 2 beliefs. Where the young guy, the son of the chief, says, "Look at all these scalps I brought you, of white settlers' scalps."
Okay.
And the chief says, "All that's gonna do is bring more white people. Like, that didn't solve the problem. There's more people coming." And it parallels what the general that you like, Danny Huston, where he said, "Like it or not, wagons are coming." Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's supposed to be, we're seeing the wagons that are coming, but it doesn't draw enough of a thread.
And at the end of the movie, again, there's the parallel. At the end of the movie, I just remember this distinct shot of somebody. I don't remember what character it was, but we see the character and see what they're looking at, and there's a group of settlers, a group of cowboys sitting around with a bunch of native scalps.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, that's just going to bring more angry natives to retake the land.
So that's the other thread in this movie. We forgot about that boy who lives from the raid, starts working with these native hunters that are from the army. Mm-hmm. And they're hunting, and his story culminates in him not wanting to kill the native. He wants to kill the natives to kill his family. Then they find basically just a peaceful group of people living, like peaceful natives, and they just ransack, and they shoot them all to death, and they scalp them. And the boy realizes, oh my God, this is what I've signed up for.
I just did what they did to us. I'm no better than them, it's something. It's the most base, bare level redemption.
Yeah.
Or not even redemption, but like this fall into like, oh no, I have become the thing I hate. It's still something. And you know what? His arc finished. I bet this kid's gonna be in the other movies though, living out different
His arc didn't finish. That's his lowest point. The arc would be what he learned. Like what he becomes, his evolution.
Nah, he's done.
It's half an arc.
Nah, he's done.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, he might be, because I don't think they're making Horizon 3 and 4. But then the end of this movie, because we've talked about the prostitute abandons Costner. She gives the baby to the Chinese, who we saw just very briefly, where someone says, no more Chinese workers.
that is something that comes up. The bunch of Chinese immigrants are there, and there's a dude with a wagon. It's like, we're taking people, but only English speakers. He looks at one guy, he's just like, you speak English? He's like, yeah. He's like, tell him no more Chinese.
And so then
Jesus.
She runs away. She gives the baby to the Chinese. Kevin Costner sees the note. The note, again, is written on the back of the pamphlet, the Horizon pamphlet.
Yes, okay.
And like when she gives the baby to the Chinese, the note is also written on the back of the Horizon pamphlet. Like we see this pamphlet in many scenes, so I'm just assuming. But then that's the end of Costner's arc.
He doesn't appear for the last 30 minutes of the movie.
And then we get a 4-minute supercut. As the movie, like you said, the only reason you know the movie's ending is because the music swells. We see that boy with all those dead natives, and we see them scalping, and it starts playing this music, and they're joking about how they scalped the natives. And we see the swell of music, or we hear the swell music, and we see this supercut of scenes. And it is scenes for the next movies. Mm-hmm. It's a trailer. Before we cut to credits, we get a trailer of the other Horizon movies, because it's like... It's very clearly not a supercut of things happening. It's not a montage. It is like conversations, but we're seeing them over music.
Yeah.
Gunshots. We're seeing Kevin Costner in a brawl with people and like a shootout. We're seeing all these things that haven't happened yet that will happen, because they're like, oh shit, nothing fucking happened in this movie, and we're just promising it means something.
Promising that next time there might be... It does feel, again, I mentioned that like this might have been a good TV show if it was an anthology in the West, and like one episode of Luke Wilson's character.
Yeah.
One episode of the Good Samaritan from the beginning of the film. And this feels like a next time on Horizon.
Yeah.
And then the Bonanza theme plays.
And then I don't know if that footage is all from Horizon Chapter 2. If some of that's Chapter 3, Chapter 4, I don't know.
I bet none of it makes it into any cut of the film, and that's the only time we see it.
And I'll tell you this, it didn't look very interesting.
No.
There was some wagon chases and stuff like that, but this whole movie is shot... This is where you're like, Kevin Costner's a great director, or like you like his directing.
Yeah.
It's shot weirdly boring.
I think he's a safe director, but I think he's competent.
Sure. The camera was on and pointed towards the actors.
No, like there wasn't any point in the movie where it's like, I hate what I'm looking at. It was like, oh, that's a very, not to say like standard shot, but it's like, oh, there's the landscape shots that I would get in a Western movie.
I watched that whole movie like...
But we're locked in now. Now that...
Oh, we're going to see them all.
Now that
we'll see the next one in theaters.
Okay. Now that there's an episode on it, we're locked in.
We'll have to keep pairing it with other horse shit.
Let's hope every year somebody puts out what's the opposite of magnum for magnum opus?
I don't know. Minor opus.
Sure. Let's hope every year somebody just puts out an absolute stinker.
Yeah.
Just to...
Unironically, though, I want more of these.
Yeah.
These are more interesting to exist than any sort of like...
I am more willing to rewatch Megalopolis than most of what's come out this year.
Yes. Horizon's a big swing and a miss for me. Megalopolis, though, is one of a kind, I'd watch it again.
Let's just keep pairing Horizon with Megalopolis.
So we'd both watch Megalopolis before we'd watch Horizon again.
And you should too, at home.
But which would you rather, bang your step on or your sister?
Neither.
Cut the feed.